What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We've talked quite a bit about the backlash that Sony is currently facing, and it seems like a whole other community is setting their sights on PlayStation, looking to break the system wide open, and it turns out they have quite a bit of backing financially to make that happen, but we'll go over that here today. Also, we're going to be talking about some of the tariff refunds that these companies are seeing, and some reactions that have really blown up online after certain comments and statements were made by Nintendo, because go figure, they don't actually want to give any of the money back to the customers. And we'll also be talking about Splatoon Raiders. That's out this week, and so we have reviews going live, some of the pros and cons, looking towards the next big Switch 2 release, but we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps it a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Also, we are over on Spotify now, so if you want to watch a show there, you can, as full video and audio. So like, follow, subscribe, whatever else happens over on Spotify. And we're going to start today with Xbox Game Pass. Now, this closes out July and then goes into August, so we can see this over on news.xbox.com. Available right now, we have the Planet Crafter and Shift at Midnight. I believe that is a day one Xbox Game Pass game, as they show here. And then July 23rd, tomorrow, we have Hell Is Us. I've talked about trying to find that game kind of on the cheap. Here it is now, just showing up in Game Pass, so I guess it's a good way to try it out if you have the service. But Halo Campaign Evolved, obviously being the big release here from Microsoft, July 28th. Looking forward to that one to see what people think about it, especially if you've never played through the campaign. It seems like a good way to even jump in here. Then we have July 30th, Mistfall Hunter. And then on July 31st, Corsair Cove. August 4th, Heretic plus Hexen, and a game that I'm really interested to see how it turns out, Beast of Reincarnation, that of course coming from Game Freak. Typically you look to them for Pokemon, and then here they come with this brand new IP and something that looks completely different from what you're used to there. So I just want to see how that one goes exactly. But otherwise, I mean, Halo Campaign Evolved, obviously the big release heading into the end of July, and then starting up August with Beast of Reincarnation as another big one. Also, Gamescom will be taking place starting August 25th. They'll have their opening night live event, and I'm sure we'll see all kinds of games there. But it seems like the trade show itself has exploded in popularity to where it's even completely sold out. Now this, we can see, is over on VGC, saying the show's organizers have announced that all available exhibition space has completely sold out for the first time due to increasing demand. The event has also confirmed that more major exhibitors have confirmed their attendance this year, with the likes of Konami, Tencent Games, Embark Studios, Level Infinite, Giants, and Aerosoft, as well as Nintendo, Xbox, EA, Ubisoft, Capcom. They're saying it'll be bigger than ever. So Gamescom typically is pretty big. I think there's like 300,000 some odd people who generally attend Gamescom, and you have all kinds of gaming companies obviously show up. You have big reveals and announcements, so it should be a lot of fun at the end of next month in August, and I'll look forward to it there. Of course, get all kinds of news coming out of it, but the fact that it is getting larger is interesting because it's already been massive, so I'm curious what some of these companies show up with this year for Gamescom 2026. Oh, and we have Marvel ToeCon coming up here pretty soon, but DC decided to respond with their own big game announcement. We can see some of the trailer here. This is DCKO. All right, it's a free-to-play mobile DC fighter. Say you play as DC superheroes and DC supervillains you love to fight real opponents worldwide. And okay, so look, you could pre-register today if you want to try it out. It seems so underwhelming compared to Marvel ToeCon. It's like, oh, don't worry, guys, we got an answer for it, and it's a mobile fighting game that definitely looks like a mobile fighting game. I mean, again, pre-register, so I guess eventually people will try it out, see what they think, but even fighting games on like a mobile phone, I don't know how well that will translate over. Something tells me, though, probably won't be on the same level overall as Marvel ToeCon. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and the continued backlash they're facing online, and the fact that they are basically just ignoring all of that. But this one could maybe annoy them a bit, because if anything else, it'll just give them more work to keep the PlayStation 5 locked down, because now things are getting serious since actual money is getting involved to open the system up. Yeah, so I first saw this, it came across my timeline here, and this was a video that was posted by Jeff, and in this, he talks about how there is now an entire setup where people are pulling together money in order to pay for someone for a full exploit on the PlayStation 5. Now, after looking into this further, it looks like Louis Rossmann had also set this all up, and this is over on, what is this, Fulu Bounties? And right now, you know, I was looking at it, they're matching $10,000 worth of it. There's 340 backers. They're up to more than $31,000 for the bounty pot. And the idea is simple. We've talked about HackerOne on this channel many times in the past, and it's a way for companies to pay people who are security specialists to find all kinds of issues with security, loopholes, exploits, what have you, that would typically lead to jailbreaks for systems. And rather than them just give it to the community for free, they're able to get paid money. And it's not even like a little bit. I mean, we've had some go upwards of like $20,000 for certain exploits, depending on the severity of it. And then later on, they're able to tell everyone what exactly it was after the company, say Sony, is able to patch it in an official firmware update, and they have enough time where most people have probably updated. Then you hear about the exploit, and then you realize, oh, I'm not on that firmware anymore. That's why. Okay, so in this case, they want to try to beat Sony to the punch by offering money. I mean, that's just, hey, money makes the world go round. So if you can make it worth their while, maybe you can get an exploit that is substantial here. So that's what they're doing. They say the bounty can be won by any eligible person who makes a hardware, software, or combined modification or method to any model of PlayStation 5 that meets the following criteria. You can see a list of bullet points here, but you can allow for modification or bypassing of the PlayStation 5 hypervisor to the extent that an alternate OS can be booted. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily stable or anything, just a way to get to an alternate OS, because then you feel like the community can kind of take it from there, especially with developments of Linux, which seems to be what the big thing people want to be able to load on their PlayStation 5. It must either be a one-off implementation or an implementation that takes no more than 10 minutes to execute. If it needs to be repeated, must work on firmware version, get this, 3.4.2 or newer. So, I mean, like the current one, the newest one, basically. And so if I guess you stop updating right now, you would have a shot at this. So again, the idea is to be able to bypass Sony completely, get that exploit out to people immediately. Sony would eventually pick up on it, but they would then have to do their own kind of reverse engineering to figure it out and then patch it. Which means, yes, the community then would have the ability to completely break open or jailbreak their PlayStation 5 and load up Linux. Now, people have already been able to do that, but it is on older firmware, so you have to kind of have a PS5 and thought about this even years ago and just not updated the thing. Which, again, if you have that, it's really cool. There are all kinds of videos showing it, but most people don't. So this is kind of a way, I mean, let's face it, for the community to kind of stick it to Sony. It's like, hey, we can actually pull together, in this case, more than $30,000, which is a substantial amount of money to get people at least motivated enough to maybe turn in their exploit, or yes, develop an exploit. Look what's been happening with the PlayStation 5 emulation scene. We hadn't heard about anything really big with it for years in terms of progress. All of a sudden now, they're figuring everything out. They got like Claude involved with it. So it's that's something that I think will continue to accelerate there. But now I'm kind of thinking even the jailbreaking scene for the PlayStation 5 will be accelerating, because, I mean, you get tens of thousands of dollars involved, and yeah, people can maybe allot some time, put it to the side and go, okay, if I make this happen, I'll actually get paid. So we'll see how all that turns out. Definitely something to follow here, and I'll have it linked down below in the sources if you'd like to check it out for yourself. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo and actually just about all these other companies when it comes to them getting refunds for tariffs that probably raise the price of most goods that we all ended up paying for. But after they were deemed illegal, all these companies went, yeah, it's a slam dunk in court, so now we're all going to sue the government to get our money back. And at that point, they all got put on hold, basically, or paused all the lawsuits, because the government just set up a way to then send money out to all these different businesses and entities, not necessarily to, again, the people who probably paid more money than they needed to due to those tariffs. Well, as part of this, there are some class action lawsuits that are currently in effect. Nintendo, for example, is facing one right now where people are saying, hey, you got to give the money back to the consumers that spent more money on accessories or, I don't know, the Switch 2 itself. Well, Nintendo, it doesn't exactly agree with that. Go figure. This, we can see, though, is over on GameFile. Stephen Totilo had an entire write-up on this. Nintendo told the court that the doctrine of unjust enrichment does not apply when a party voluntarily pays a purchase price and receives a product in return. Nintendo said plaintiffs received exactly what they paid for, Nintendo products that plaintiffs knowingly and voluntarily purchased at the advertised price, nor is there anything unjust about Nintendo retaining money that it may receive from the government as tariff refunds. The fact that Nintendo stands to receive tariff refunds does not give plaintiffs any legal entitlement to those funds. And we've already talked about this before, how it's just going to be basically unfair for a lot of people that paid inflated prices, basically covering a majority of the tariffs. Now, Nintendo does argue that they didn't necessarily raise prices or anything to completely cover tariffs, that they did eat some of the cost on different products, but nonetheless, yeah, customers did end up paying more. Now, Nintendo's defense is we willingly paid more, and I mean, look, it's just kind of the way it is with commerce. It's like they put a price in front of you, and you decide yes or no. Now, if they put that price in front of you, you said yes, you took it home, and then they sent you another bill in the future, and they're like, no, actually you owe us $50 more, you have to pay this. Maybe you have a case then. But this is how it was always going to be. Once those tariffs were deemed illegal and refunds were going to the companies, people were like, hey, how do we get the money? And all the companies, like all of them were like, the Uncle Phil, like, we, what do you mean we? That's just kind of the way it goes. And is it unfair? Yeah, absolutely is. But that's just kind of that, it's the saying of, well, when you say that to like your parents, like, it's not fair. They say life's not fair. And that's kind of where we are now, unfortunately. So there you go. Nintendo arguing in court probably will get that case dismissed, by the way, and any other cases that follow along with any of these other companies, Sony, Microsoft, doesn't matter. They generally will have an argument in court that'll let them off the hook, and that's just kind of the way it goes. When you have large companies versus consumers, typically large corporations end up winning out. Next up, let's talk about Splatoon Raiders. Reviews did go live yesterday. The game is out tomorrow. I'll be checking it out. I think it looks pretty fun. It's a different take on Splatoon. Kind of. I mean, it's not the multiplayer PvP style that typically is what I'll gravitate towards with Splatoon. I think like many people out there. But this one seems to be more of like a looter shooter action RPG, kind of like Salmon Run, but just built out further. And so we did have reviews again go live. Currently sitting, by the way, at an 81 on Metacritic, and reviews are, we'll say, ranging. Like there was one that I looked at and said, that's an interesting outlier, but we'll start here, okay? So let's go with Tech Radar. Okay, they give it a perfect score, 100, saying it's a wonderful solo reinvention of the popular multiplayer series, filled with smartly designed missions and endlessly engaging progression systems. Underpinned by the franchise's fantastic shooting mechanics, it's a fresh and exciting adventure that should be in every Nintendo Switch 2 owner's library. All right, we have Omelette. Says Splatoon, give it a perfect score, saying Splatoon Raiders doesn't take itself too seriously and knows its audience. It's not trying to redefine gaming. It's just a fun, lighthearted ride and doesn't underestimate the audience or hold back on its mechanics. Game Informer gave it an 88, saying though Splatoon's single-player content has always been underappreciated, Splatoon Raiders makes it impossible to ignore, shining a bright light on the series oft slept on the side. So for the most part, reviews were pretty good. Like some were just like Eurogamer an 80. The series offshoot is a hectic, often overwhelming delight. Okay. But then all the way at the bottom, guys, I like to go to the opposite end of the spectrum here to see what we're dealing with. So Daily Star gave it a 60, saying I've never quite fully gotten to grips with the motion control move the Switch around to aim system on top of the thumbstick physical in-game character movement, but it does its job well enough in this title not to be a complete nuisance. I feel like I usually just, I do. I know not everyone does. I usually turn it off and just use the two sticks on the Pro Controller, but all right. But then Guardian gave it a 40. Wow, that is harsh, saying this is the biggest surprise about Splatoon Raiders. It is pedestrian. Whew. If you've played one of dozens of modern cooperative action games, you've played this. I don't know if any of them look like Splatoon Raiders. Again, just in terms of the aesthetics, but I'll be picking it up tomorrow to check it out. That's just, I saw 4 out of 10 and I was like, wow, that's usually reserved for something that isn't even working correctly. But I guess that's Splatoon Raiders to to them. So again, I'll see more about this game tomorrow when it releases. I think for the most part with the reviews, it seems like it's a pretty good game. People are enjoying it, and I'm interested to see kind of a spin-off or a different take on the Splatoon franchise. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the PlayStation Vita, because I mean, look, there's news for the Vita. We have to do something with that, right? What if you could cloud stream on the Vita? I mean, you could do remote play, right? What if you could cloud stream Xbox games on the Vita? It's so weird looking, but people are doing it. They figured it out. Take a look here. We can see over on Pure Xbox, they have a video of somebody checking it out. They have a tweet detailing it. I'm sorry, it's really funny to see this. This is called Green Vita. It is indeed a homebrew app that allows you to tap into your Xbox Cloud gaming account and just be able to stream them to the device. And people are having mixed results. And look, it's cloud streaming. It's very much going to depend on your wireless environment there with interference or anything else, your proximity even to your router, because it's not like the Vita has like the newest wireless chipset or anything. So it might be a situation where you want to have very clear, almost line of sight and be pretty close, at least the same floor as your wireless router. Still though, with some of the results looking actually pretty good at it just working correctly, I'm pretty impressed by this one, to the point where I think we're gonna have to check this out. Like I think I'm gonna fire up the Vita. I have a couple of them. One of them is indeed jailbroken and set up, ready for homebrew. We're gonna try this because I'm just it's so weird looking. I have to see it in person, and I mean, look, you get a shot at making a Vita video. You don't turn that down. How often do we get that? Because Vita means life. Apparently even for Xbox. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, are you picking up Splatoon Raiders? Okay, so 37% not interested, all right? Then we have 22% saying maybe later if there's a sale. 21% just don't have a Switch 2. 20% say yes, getting it ASAP. That's a pretty wide spread, I feel like. And look, I can see Splatoon Raiders down the line going on sale. That feels like one of those games where Nintendo knocks it down like 20% randomly on the Cyber Monday deal or even the following year or something. So it wouldn't shock me if it goes on sale. I just wouldn't expect like deep discounts on that because it's a first party Nintendo game. Still, I'm interested again to see the spin-off for Splatoon, because I've always looked at Splatoon as more of just the PvP style arena, really cool and interesting idea where you paint the entire arena and then also splat each other technically there. But this just kind of feels like they're expanding the Splatoon universe even further. I know there's all kinds of lore and other things, but in video game format, this seems like the next step. And then eventually, of course, we get the next big mainline Splatoon game, but this kind of feels like a nice, almost pit stop to that. So yeah, I'm picking it up tomorrow. Check it out. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from I Complain. Says, oh man, a golden Ocarina of Time cartridge would be amazing. I saw this in the comment section yesterday in the videos. I've seen this many, many times on social media. It seems like the most obvious play ever for a company with a video game release, which probably means Nintendo won't do it, but I really hope they do, because while the red cartridges look cool, man, have that one standout where it's gold. It's some different color. It's interesting. It's different. It's unique. It seems like it makes sense. It's full circle for it to be Ocarina of Time. Again, we had the gold cartridge back in the day. It's like, it seems too perfect. So Nintendo, you don't have to overthink it. Honestly, if it's a collector's edition, it's like $100, hey, the cartridge is gold. Okay. But it seems so obvious, so much of a slam dunk, that they have to do it, which probably means Nintendo won't do it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to hear more about Sony and how I think they're making a dangerous bet looking at their spreadsheets as opposed to just the overall community within PlayStation. I made a whole video on that. I'll leave it right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.